My friends, many people step into the world of investing with excitement, dreams, and hope, yet they often remain confused about one simple question: when must I sell my stocks? The market goes up and down, news changes every hour, and emotions rise and fall like waves. But I want to give you a spiritual and practical understanding that can guide you through this uncertainty. Investing is not only about numbers. It is about wisdom, discipline, and knowing seasons. Just as the Bible teaches that there is a time to plant and a time to uproot, there is also a time to buy and a time to sell. My friends, many people enter the world of investing with bright expectations, yet they often remain uncertain about the most important question: when must I sell my stocks? Buying is easy because excitement leads you forward, but selling requires wisdom, patience, and spiritual clarity. Life itself has seasons, and investing is no different, just as Scripture reminds us that there is a time for everything under heaven. There is a time to hold and a time to release. The challenge is not in knowing the market. The challenge is in understanding your own spirit, your emotions, and the signs God places before you. The first moment you must consider selling is when fear overwhelms your heart. Fear clouds judgment. It turns a wise investor into an emotional one. When your peace begins to fade and your thoughts become restless, you can no longer see opportunities clearly. A person directed by fear cannot make sound decisions because fear steals courage and replaces it with confusion. If you find yourself waking up in the night, checking prices constantly, feeling anxious every day, then that is a signal that something is wrong. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. When the soundness of your mind begins to disappear, it may be time to let go of what is causing the turmoil. Another moment to sell is when the stock you own no longer aligns with your purpose or long-term vision. Many people follow the crowd, buying what others buy and holding what others praise, without ever asking whether it fits their own goals. But God blesses us when we walk in clarity and intention. If an investment leads you away from your values, distracts you from your goals, or brings a sense of discomfort to your inner spirit, do not hold on to it simply because of past enthusiasm. Alignment is essential in both spiritual and financial life. When something works against your direction, it is not meant to remain in your hands. Greed is one of the quietest yet most dangerous forces in investing. There are times when everything seems perfect. Profits are rising, charts are strong, and you feel invincible. This is when greed whispers, just a little more, wait a little longer. But greed blinds the eyes of wisdom. It convinces you that the high points will last forever, even though markets move in cycles. An investor driven by greed ignores warning signs and disrespects natural limits. Blessings turn into losses when we cling too tightly. When you sense that greed is guiding your decisions, that is the moment to consider selling. Leaving early with peace is better than staying longer with regret. Sometimes the fundamentals of a company begin to erode. Leadership may become weak. The business model may lose relevance, or financial reports may reveal trouble. When the roots dry up, the tree can no longer bear fruit. Many people ignore these signs because they are emotionally attached to the stock. They believed in it once, and they don't want to accept change. But faith is not stubbornness, and hope does not mean denial. Investing requires honesty. If the foundation is collapsing, it is wiser to step away than to sink with it. There will also be times when God places a quiet, gentle conviction in your heart. It is not fear, and it is not doubt. It is a peaceful, firm awareness that the season of holding is over. These inner signals are easy to overlook because they do not shout, they whisper. But when you learn to listen, you will discover that God often leads through peace. When a decision feels guided, calm, and certain, even if the outer situation looks fine, trust that prompting. God sees the road ahead long before you step on it. When He asks you to release something, it is only because He is preparing something better. And finally, when holding a stock becomes a burden instead of a blessing, you must let go. Anything that drains your peace, steals your joy, or burdens your heart is no longer serving you. Investments should support your life, not suffocate it. If you find yourself constantly stressed, mentally exhausted, or emotionally drained because of an investment, it is time to step back and reconsider. God desires that your financial life brings stability, not anxiety, growth, not unrest. Sometimes selling is not a sign of defeat. It is a sign of maturity, wisdom, and trust in God's direction. My friends, one of the most difficult decisions an investor faces is knowing when to sell. Many people focus entirely on buying, hoping that the market will rise, yet they neglect the wisdom of knowing when to let go. Selling is not merely a financial decision. It is a spiritual and emotional one. Life itself moves in seasons, and so does investing. Just as there is a time to plant and a time to harvest, there is also a time to hold and a time to release. The question is not just about profit or loss. It is about peace, clarity, and alignment with your purpose. Understanding this requires discipline, insight, and a heart that listens to guidance beyond the surface numbers. The first time you should consider selling is when fear takes control of your mind. Fear can be quiet or loud, subtle or overwhelming, but it always clouds judgment. When fear replaces faith, when every news report makes you anxious and every small dip feels like disaster, you lose the ability to think rationally. A fearful heart cannot make decisions guided by wisdom. When you feel restless, stressed, or unable to sleep because of the fluctuations in your stocks, that is a clear signal that something needs to change. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and sound judgment. When fear dominates, it is often a sign that it is time to step away and protect your peace. Another important reason to sell comes when the stock no longer aligns with your values or long-term vision. Many people buy stocks based on trends, popularity, or excitement, rather than careful consideration of the company's mission or your own goals. Holding on to something that conflicts with your purpose creates tension and inner conflict. God blesses unity of mind and heart, and He wants us to operate in harmony with our principles. When an investment drifts away from your goals or creates discomfort in your spirit, it is wise to let it go. Holding something simply because you once believed in it is not faith. It is attachment. Greed is also a powerful force that can lead you to make the wrong decision. There are times when everything seems perfect. The market is rising, profits are growing, and confidence is high. In those moments, the temptation of greed whispers, just a little more, don't sell yet. But greed clouds wisdom, and it often leads to poor judgment. It convinces us that the highs will last forever, and that we are invincible, even when the fundamentals may be shifting beneath us. Learning to recognize when greed is influencing your choices is crucial. Selling while you are still calm and reasonable preserves blessings, whereas clinging too long often leads to regret. Sometimes the fundamentals of a company begin to deteriorate. The leadership may falter, the industry may change, or financial reports may reveal hidden problems. These are the signs that the foundation is weakening. Many investors cling to hope, forgetting that hope is not stubbornness. Faith must be accompanied by discernment. When a company's core values, stability, or performance begin to decline, It is prudent to let go. Ignoring these warnings can result in far greater loss than any temporary discomfort from selling. In addition, God may place a quiet conviction in your heart, a sense of peace that signals the season of holding is over. This is not fear, not doubt, and not a whim. It is a calm, clear awareness. Such inner guidance is often subtle, but it is reliable. Learning to listen to that still, small voice can protect you from unnecessary loss and guide you to opportunities that align with your destiny. When you feel peace about selling, even if the market looks favorable, trust the direction that God is giving you. He sees beyond what the eyes can perceive. Finally, holding a stock should never become a burden. If an investment steals your joy, disrupts your peace, or creates ongoing anxiety, it is no longer serving its purpose. God desires that financial decisions bring stability, not stress, growth, not worry. When the weight of holding a stock becomes heavier than the blessings it brings, it is a sign that it is time to release it. Selling in such a moment is not failure. It is an act of wisdom, discipline, and trust. Letting go at the right time is often the most important step toward greater financial and spiritual freedom. My friends, investing is a journey that combines knowledge, strategy, and wisdom. Many enter the stock market with high hopes and dreams, imagining that wealth and security are just a few smart purchases away. Yet, one of the greatest challenges is not buying the right stock, but knowing the right time to sell. Selling is an art, not a mechanical decision. It requires more than observing charts or following trends. It requires listening to your own heart, understanding your purpose, and seeking wisdom beyond what the market shows. Just as there is a season for planting and a season for harvesting in life, there is also a season to hold investments and a season to release them. The first time to consider selling is when fear begins to dominate your mind. Fear is subtle but powerful. It starts as a small voice whispering doubts, but gradually grows louder, clouding your judgment. When fear overtakes faith, even a profitable investment can feel like a burden. You may check prices obsessively, become anxious over minor fluctuations, or lose sleep worrying about what may happen next. When your decisions are driven by fear rather than clarity and reason, it is a sign that you should step back. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Recognizing fear as a signal to release your stock is not weakness. It is a demonstration of wisdom and self-awareness. Another moment to sell comes when a stock no longer aligns with your long-term goals or values. Many investors purchase stocks because they are popular, trendy, or recommended by others, without considering whether they fit their personal vision or strategy. When holding a stock begins to create tension in your life, conflicts with your values, or distraction from your mission, it is a clear signal to let go. Faith is about trusting God's timing, not stubbornly clinging to something that no longer fits your purpose. Releasing an investment that conflicts with your vision opens the door for opportunities that are better aligned with your goals and peace of mind. Greed is another reason many investors make poor decisions. When markets rise and profits grow, greed tempts you to hold longer than you should. The voice of greed whispers, just a little more, wait a little longer, even when the signs of risk are present. Greed clouds judgment and blinds the eyes to reality. It convinces us that gains will last forever, that we are invincible, and that nothing can go wrong. The challenge is to recognize when greed is influencing your decision and to choose to act with wisdom and discipline. Selling while your mind is calm and your heart is steady often preserves blessings, whereas ignoring this call can lead to regret and loss. Sometimes a stock must be sold because the fundamentals of the company begin to decline. The leadership may change for the worse, the financials may weaken, or the industry landscape may shift unfavorably. When the roots of a company start to rot, it is no longer wise to remain attached. Many investors cling to hope, but hope is not stubbornness. Faith requires discernment. When warning signs are clear and consistent, releasing the investment is an act of wisdom. Ignoring these signals can transform a temporary problem into a permanent loss, whereas acting at the right time preserves resources and peace. God also often places a quiet conviction in the heart of a believer, a still small voice that guides decisions. This inner guidance is not fear, not doubt, and not impulse. It is a gentle clarity. Sometimes, even when the numbers look promising, your spirit knows that the season of holding is over. Listening to this guidance requires trust and sensitivity to God's direction. It is a form of spiritual wisdom that protects you from unnecessary risk and prepares you for better opportunities. God sees the future more clearly than we do and often nudges us to release what is no longer suitable. Finally, holding a stock should never become a burden to your life. If it causes constant worry, stress, or mental strain, it has outlived its blessing. Investments should bring security, growth, and confidence, not sleepless nights or anxiety. When the weight of holding becomes heavier than the benefit it brings, it is a clear sign that it is time to let go. Selling in such moments is not failure, but a demonstration of discipline, trust, and wisdom. By releasing at the right time, you make space for better opportunities, restore your peace, and align your financial actions with God's guidance. My friends, in the world of investing, knowing when to sell is often far more important than knowing what to buy. Many people step into the stock market with optimism, excitement, and dreams of wealth, but they overlook the wisdom required to let go at the right moment. Selling is not simply a financial calculation. It is a decision that involves your emotions, your discipline, and your alignment with a higher purpose. Life itself moves in seasons, and so does investing. There is a time to plant and a time to harvest, a time to hold and a time to release. Understanding this principle allows you to invest with confidence, peace, and clarity, rather than reacting impulsively to every fluctuation in the market. The first sign that it is time to sell is when fear overtakes your judgment. Fear can be subtle, beginning as a quiet unease and growing until it dominates every thought. When fear replaces faith, it clouds your ability to make rational decisions. You may wake up at night anxious about prices, watch every news headline with tension, and feel constantly uncertain about your investments. Decisions made in fear rarely lead to blessing. They often lead to loss and regret. God has given us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and sound judgment. Recognizing fear as a signal to step back is a mark of wisdom, not weakness. Letting go when fear becomes overwhelming preserves your peace and allows you to act from clarity instead of panic. Another time to sell arises when a stock no longer aligns with your long-term vision or values. Many investors follow trends, mimic others, or buy into popular opinion without asking whether the investment matches their own goals. When holding a stock starts to create inner conflict, distracts from your purpose, or diverts you from your long-term plans, it is a clear signal that it is time to release it. Faith is not about stubborn attachment to something that no longer serves you. Holding an investment that is out of alignment may create tension in your life and distract you from opportunities that are more suitable. Releasing such an investment is an act of wisdom and courage. Greed is another reason that can push investors to hold too long. When the market is rising and profits are accumulating, it is easy to be tempted to stay invested, thinking, just a little more, I can wait for higher gains. Greed blinds judgment and convinces you that the highs will continue indefinitely. It persuades you to ignore warning signs, dismiss risks, and overestimate your control over outcomes. Recognizing when greed is influencing your decisions is critical. Selling while your mind is calm and your heart is steady ensures that you preserve blessings instead of risking loss. Wisdom requires discipline, and knowing when to walk away is a key part of that discipline. Sometimes fundamental changes in a company signal that it is time to sell. Leadership may falter, the business model may weaken, or market conditions may shift. When the foundation of a company begins to decay, remaining attached can lead to greater loss. Many investors hold on because of past faith, believing that things will improve, but hope without discernment is dangerous. Faith must always be accompanied by understanding and insight. Recognizing deteriorating fundamentals and acting accordingly is a mark of prudent investing and spiritual wisdom. It protects both your finances and your peace of mind. In addition, God often places a quiet conviction within your heart. This inner voice is subtle but powerful, giving you clarity when decisions feel overwhelming. Sometimes, even when the numbers look favorable, your spirit knows that the season of holding is ending. Listening to this guidance requires trust and attentiveness to God's direction. It is a divine form of wisdom that helps you avoid unnecessary risks and positions you for future opportunities. God sees beyond what our eyes can perceive, and His guidance is always meant to protect, bless, and prepare you for growth. Finally, holding a stock should never become a burden. If your investment causes persistent stress, anxiety, or distraction, it has outlived its blessing. Investments are meant to provide security, growth, and peace of mind, not to weigh down your heart. When the weight of holding becomes heavier than the benefit, it is time to release it. Selling in such circumstances is not a sign of failure. It is an act of wisdom, discipline, and trust. By letting go at the right time, you restore your peace, align your actions with God's guidance, and make room for better opportunities that serve your purpose, your vision, and your well-being. My friends, one of the most challenging aspects of investing is not buying stocks, but knowing when to sell. Many people enter the market with enthusiasm, hope, and dreams of prosperity. Yet they often overlook the spiritual and emotional wisdom required to make the right decision at the right time. Selling is not only a financial choice, it is an act that requires clarity, discipline, and alignment with God's guidance. Life itself moves in seasons, and so does investing. Just as there is a time to plant, a time to water, and a time to harvest, there is also a season for holding investments and a season for releasing them. Recognizing these seasons allows you to act with confidence, rather than reacting out of fear, greed, or attachment. The first time you should consider selling is when fear begins to dominate your heart and mind. Fear is subtle at first, often appearing as a small whisper of doubt, but it can quickly grow into a loud, overwhelming presence. When fear replaces faith, it clouds judgment, and even the most promising investment can feel like a heavy burden. Anxiety may take hold, causing sleepless nights, constant worry over price fluctuations, and indecision about what step to take next. Decisions made in fear rarely lead to blessings, because fear distorts perception and limits action. God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power, love, and a sound mind. Recognizing fear as a signal to step back and release a stock is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of spiritual and emotional maturity. Another important reason to sell arises when a stock no longer aligns with your long-term vision, values, or purpose. Many investors buy because a stock is popular, because friends recommend it, or because the market seems favorable, without considering whether it fits their own goals. Holding on to an investment that conflicts with your principles or distracts you from your mission creates tension, unrest, and inner conflict. Faith does not require stubborn attachment to something that no longer serves your life or your purpose. Releasing such investments is an act of wisdom, allowing you to remain aligned with your goals, protect your peace, and open doors for opportunities better suited to your path. Greed is another powerful factor that often prevents people from selling at the right time. When markets are rising and profits appear abundant, greed whispers, "Wait a little longer, you can earn even more." Greed clouds judgment and can lead to overconfidence. It convinces us that gains will continue indefinitely, that risk is no longer real, and that we can control outcomes beyond our reach. Wisdom lies in recognizing the influence of greed and choosing to act with discipline. Selling while your mind is calm and your heart is steady ensures that blessings are preserved rather than lost through overextension or misjudgment. Sometimes fundamental changes within a company signal that it is time to sell. Leadership may falter, financial reports may decline, or the company's vision may weaken. When the foundation begins to erode, clinging to past hope can lead to significant losses. Many investors hold on because they once trusted the stock or loved the company's potential, but hope without discernment is dangerous. Faith must be accompanied by insight and honesty. Recognizing when fundamentals deteriorate and responding accordingly is not only wise financially but also spiritually. It allows you to protect your resources and avoid unnecessary burdens. In addition, God often places a quiet conviction in your heart, a gentle guidance that signals the end of the season for holding a particular stock. This guidance is subtle, often appearing as a calm sense of certainty or clarity, even when external circumstances appear favorable. Listening to this inner voice requires trust and sensitivity to divine direction. It is a form of wisdom that protects you from unnecessary risk and prepares you for future opportunities. God sees beyond what we can see and often directs us to release investments that may no longer serve our purpose or bring blessing. Finally, holding a stock should never become a burden to your life. If an investment steals your joy, disrupts your peace, or causes persistent worry, it has outlived its blessing. Stocks are meant to provide security, growth, and peace of mind, not anxiety, stress, or unrest. When holding a stock becomes heavier than the benefit it brings, it is time to let it go. Selling in such circumstances is not failure. It is an act of wisdom, discipline, and trust in God's guidance. By releasing at the right time, you restore your peace, protect your emotional well-being, and make room for opportunities that align with your purpose, vision, and overall blessing. My friends, investing in the stock market is more than a financial activity. It is a journey that combines knowledge, discipline, patience, and spiritual wisdom. Many people enter this world with hope and excitement, dreaming of wealth and security, but one of the most difficult lessons they face is understanding when it is time to sell. Buying can be thrilling, but selling requires courage, insight, and the ability to separate emotion from logic. Just as life moves in seasons, investing follows a rhythm. There is a time to buy, a time to hold, and a time to release. Recognizing these seasons is essential to make decisions that protect your resources, preserve your peace, and honor the guidance of God in your life? The first reason to consider selling is when fear begins to dominate your decisions. Fear can be subtle, starting as a small unease, or it can grow into an overwhelming anxiety that clouds judgment. When fear overtakes faith, even a profitable stock may feel like a burden. Constantly watching the market, losing sleep, and feeling restless are signs that fear has taken control. Decisions made from fear are rarely guided by wisdom, and they often result in regret. God has given us a spirit not of fear, but of power, love, and sound judgment. Recognizing fear as a signal to step back and possibly sell is an act of maturity and prudence, not weakness. It allows you to act with clarity rather than reacting impulsively to temporary fluctuations. Another moment to sell comes when a stock no longer aligns with your long-term goals, values, or vision. Many investors purchase stocks because they are trending, because friends recommend them, or because everyone else is buying. However, holding an investment that conflicts with your personal purpose creates tension, distraction, and inner conflict. Faith is not stubborn attachment to something that no longer serves your life or aligns with your mission. Releasing investments that no longer fit your purpose is an act of wisdom. It clears space for opportunities that match your goals, restores your peace, and ensures that your actions remain in harmony with your values and long-term vision. Greed is another factor that can prevent timely selling. When the market rises and profits increase, it is easy to be tempted to wait longer, thinking, "I can earn even more if I hold a little longer." Greed clouds judgment and overestimates our control over outcomes. It convinces us that gains will continue indefinitely and that risks are negligible. Recognizing when greed is influencing decisions is crucial. Selling while your mind is calm and your heart is steady preserves blessings and protects you from potential losses. Wisdom is not only knowing when to buy, but also knowing when to step away before attachment or desire overrides reason. Sometimes, fundamental changes within a company signal that it is time to sell. Leadership may falter, profits may decline, or the business may lose relevance. When the foundation of a company begins to weaken, continuing to hold can lead to substantial losses. Many investors remain attached out of past hope or loyalty, but hope without discernment is dangerous. Faith must be accompanied by insight, honesty, and a realistic assessment of circumstances. Recognizing the decline in fundamentals and acting promptly is an act of prudent investing and spiritual wisdom, safeguarding both financial stability and emotional peace. Additionally, God often places a quiet, guiding conviction in your heart, a gentle inner voice signaling that the season for holding a stock is over. This guidance is subtle yet powerful, a calm clarity that directs your decisions even when the external situation seems favorable. Listening to this inner guidance requires faith, trust, and sensitivity to God's direction. It is a divine form of wisdom that allows you to avoid unnecessary risks and positions you for future opportunities. God sees beyond what we can perceive and leads us to release investments that no longer serve our purpose or bring blessing. Finally, holding a stock should never become a burden. If it steals your peace, disrupts your focus, or causes persistent stress, it has outlived its blessing. Investments are meant to provide security, growth, and confidence, not anxiety or exhaustion. When the weight of holding exceeds the benefits, it is time to release it. Selling in these circumstances is not a sign of failure. It is an act of wisdom, discipline, and trust in God's guidance. By letting go at the right moment, you restore your peace, protect your mental and emotional well-being, and make room for better opportunities that align with your purpose, vision, and long blessing.